Hello and welcome to Inside North East Non-League Football. We've got a special guest here tonight for the first of what will be a number of specials. We're going to look back at what has been a remarkable rise up the North East Non-League Pyramid, up the Non-League Pyramid nationally as well, from Stockton Town, from the Teesside League to the Wearside League to the Northern League, and now looking to get into Step 3 in the Northern Premier League Premier Division. And who better to speak to than Anchor's chairman, Martin Hillerby. Martin, welcome along.
Yeah, nice to meet you again, Mark.
It's going to be some recollection of what has been an unbelievable, I'd say a decade, but this has been a lot longer in the making, really. I mean, you look back in the Teesside League days and going into the Wearside League, the frustrations there, the ground grading issues. To look at where you are now as a club, it's a lot of emotions gone into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So since our first year in the Teesside League, which was 2009 and 9-10, obviously 15 years. And what a lot of people don't realise is it was really 2016 before we made the first major step, which was out of the Step 7, the Wearside League, into Step 6, you know. So the achievements since getting a ground that we could reasonably develop the club and develop itself has been 8 years up to now, you know, which is quite remarkable, I think, given where we started and where we've come from.
I think one of the things that always fascinates me about Stockton is I look at the teams that came through the Wearside League, and you look at the players that were in that squad, the one that played in the first season in the Northern League, and you still got a core that have continued this journey right to what we hope next season will be Step 3 football. I'm thinking of people like Adam Nicholson, of course, had that landmark appearance recently, and Tom Coulthard not far behind him. Kevin Hayes has been on the journey, and the fact that a lot of players who came through the club's youth ranks and went away to forge very good careers elsewhere have come back. It's that, to me, is the essence of Stockton Town.
Yeah, we'd like to think so. You know, as you've pointed out there, Mark, Tom and Addy have been consistent along with Kev. And then we've got Stockton lads who've played higher up the pyramid in Shane and Mikey Roberts, Tom Portis, Dan McWilliams, all Stockton lads who've come back towards the club. And obviously not forgetting Michael and JD, who've been in position 10 years now, and their coaching team. So there's consistency right through the club, obviously. And that's how we've built it, with a consistent approach, just trying to get better on and off the pitch each year, you know, and with a set of standards that we sort of stand behind, all of us, which has stood us in good stead to this point, you know.
Just looking back, I mean, there's been so many positives of the club's rise, but the initial part in the Wearside League, when I think it was at 3 seasons in a row where failed ground gradings, even though you were doing work every year, that must have been, I mean, emotionally draining more than anything.
Yeah, unless you were actually inside the club at the time, it's difficult to understand that emotional roller coaster that you're on. But, you know, I'll go back to some of the names that we mentioned there, in the likes of Tom and Addy and Michael and JD, myself, the committee, and other volunteers around the place, that they all stood behind me and behind the club in what we were trying to achieve. And hopefully they're getting the recognition and the sort of plaudits for what they deserve, their loyalty, their vision, you know, their belief in what people were saying to them. And yeah, it's worked out so far. Yeah.
I always remember the first year of the Northern League. I think that one of the first games you played in the Vase as a club was against Whitley Bay Club, synonymous with the Vase, and went to Hillheads and won that day as well. That to me felt like a real sort of landmark moment for the club.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Mark, because a lot of us actually said that at the time, to go to Whitley Bay, who'd obviously famous in non-league football, never mind Northern League football, the stature of their club, the stature of the ground. And we went there that day, and I think we won 2-0. And we came away afterwards sort of suddenly believing that as a club, we were at the stage, on a stage that the club deserved to be on, you know. And it was a remarkable achievement. We felt that was a remarkable achievement that day to go there and do that. And obviously, it gives you confidence, gives the players confidence, and it lets you know, everybody know within the club that you are on the right lines. But yeah, it was a landmark moment. I think you're right.
And I'm trying not to fast forward here, but I remember being at Coach Lane campus when I think it was Adam Nicholson got the winner late against Team Northumbria, which won the second division title in your first season in the Northern League club. I mean, that's remarkable progress in such a short space of time.
Yeah, we remember that day well, and we went into that league season not expecting to win that league. I think we'd be all honest about that. And, the way we operate as a club, it's all about just trying to build naturally, step by step off the pitch, on the pitch. But when you think back now and you look back on that second division season, all the momentum had been built up in the previous years. That constant improvement while we're in the Wearside League that's seen us win all the trophies. The in one season, the Wearside League 4 years. Once the cap was lifted off, it allowed the club to just naturally build up all that pent-up progression that had been there, I think. And yeah. I think that's what happened in that first season in the second division.
Obviously, with all due respect to clubs in the Wearside League, who, there's a lot of hard-working committees in there and a lot of historic clubs in there as well, we should say. But in the space of about 2 years, you've gone from competing with the Wearside League clubs to all of a sudden the established order in the Northern League in Division 1 after that title win, playing against your Shildens and, your Dunstans and these clubs that have had great success, and Bishop Auckland, historic names. I mean, I guess the progression from Division 2 to Division 1 of the Northern League, I always think is a big jump. Is that something you found as a club?
Yeah, it was a massive step. So I don't know whether you can remember that first season, 17-18 in Northern League Division 1. I think we lost the first 8 or 9 games on the belt. I'm not sure it was 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But we were sat roundly bottom, I think, or close to the bottom, only off it on goal difference. And we were having a tough time, But credit where credit's due. The players and management team identified what they needed to do, knuckle down, and turned the season around. And from losing them first initial games, we end up at Wembley, which is quite remarkable.
Probably a good time to speak about the management team. I mean, JD and Michael, I think people think they've always had it easy, because they've had so much success as you've gone up the pyramid. But you think of key moments like that, that poor start of the season. What I've always found admirable about them is they do always find solutions, and when things are going against them, they'll find a way of turning things around. I mean, they've done an incredible job, and to be there 10 years at any club now is some achievement. Never mind the success they've had.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's about having belief in what you're doing as a club. There's, we haven't got pots of money to solve problems with. We've got hard work, belief, decision making that all comes to bear, that hopefully we get more right than we get wrong. But Michael and JD, have been key in that season in Division 1. We can even go back to the last couple of years. We've been beaten in 2 playoff finals. It's very easy for squads to lose belief, teams to lose belief, clubs to lose belief. And, even last year, we had a couple of rocky runs, even though we finished second.
Yeah.
But, just that belief and that consistency of approach has been key to Stockton Town, I believe.
You mentioned it briefly before. I mean, Wembley was, again, and with all due respect to the Wearside League, to go from the Wearside League to Wembley in the space of 2 years was, well, not even 2 years, was it really? Just a remarkable achievement. I remember being down there for the pre-Wembley press conference that the FA always hold, and the media day down there, and just there's almost this air of just disbelief at what was going on.
Yeah, I think that would be a fair comment. It was disbelief within the club and the supporter base, really. That's wow, what's happening to us, And Yeah, I think when you haven't competed at sort of Northern League Division 1 level at least before, and you go into the likes of Bishop Auckland and North Shields and Dunstans and Shildens that you've always looked up to and you've always admired as football clubs, that you're then suddenly thrown into the spotlight in their arena. It's quite a remarkable achievement and quite a sort of awakening moment for us all, really, I think.
It's been a mixed few years for football on Teesside. I mean, obviously we've got Mask, who had that incredible rise, and now obviously the sad situation with them. Billingham Town and Synthonia have had some issues as well. But I always felt that Vase run, particularly the semi-finals against Mask, it was such a shame for the area that wasn't the final, because it was two absolutely rip-roaring games. I mean, I'll never forget the snow that there was in the first leg. But it would have been such a fitting final for the area, for an area that loves its football and loves its football clubs, if both clubs could have got to Wembley and avoided each other.
Yeah, well, you had to feel sorry for Mask, and obviously there was nothing between the teams in the two matches, but obviously we got lucky, we edged it. But you feel for players, the management, obviously the Mask management and the Stockton management are quite close anyway in terms of the friendship circles.
Yeah.
So you felt for everybody, and yes, it would have been great, but unfortunately we had to go off against each other, and we were the fortunate ones. But two remarkable games, I think, that'll live long in the memory, and even just the circumstances around them, Mark, with Mask's pitch position with not being able to get games on, with the inclement weather, everything just became quite surreal circumstances in everything that was going on. And probably Mask felt the same,
Yeah. What's your abiding memory of Wembley? Because I think, again, and I look back and remember the faces, and remember speaking to, Addy and Michael Dunwell after the game, and there was obviously disappointment as well. But the abiding emotion I got from them was one of pride, and just, yes, the result didn't go your way, but the fact you'd represented a big town on such a big scale, there seemed to be such pride there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was a big moment for the club that had risen from nowhere, that it allowed the town to recognise that it had got a football club back, I think.
Yeah,
When you see the numbers that went, you see how they represented the town, and a lot of the other bits that a lot of the public don't know is, I think it was something like 95%, 96% of the playing and management team all resided in Stockton, and about 78% of the playing squad had played for our junior setup at some point in time that had got to Wembley.
yeah.
So the achievements for Stockton were quite remarkable, So they'd be my overriding memories. And then, of course, just the game itself, again, it felt like one of them games where just nothing fell for us, nothing quite came off for us on the day, and that's to
Yeah.
take nothing away from Thatcham, who obviously won the game. But it just never quite worked out. But, getting to Wembley, getting to a Vase final, I think we'll put it down as an achievement and not a missed opportunity.
100% agree. I'm always at pains to talk about this, but we have to get to COVID and the impact. I know we had conversations during COVID about the impact it had on the club and on football as a whole, to be fair. I mean, looking at yourselves, you obviously had this clear push for promotion. We're going really well in the league, and eventually kind of got promoted via well, it was a bit confusing the way the FA did it, but got promoted eventually. But just looking at that sort of 18 months, just how much hard work went into keeping the club going and keeping things ticking over until football resumed.
Yeah, I think it was important. It'll have been important for many other people in my position that you had to try to keep everybody together and keep people believing that normality would come back and that football would come back. And there was always this overriding feeling of injustice in terms of, I think we were a couple of points off being promoted, but there was other clubs in South Shields as such that had already clinched promotion and celebrated promotion, and they were equally as upset as we were with where we found ourselves. I mean, we got there eventually via the reorganisation of the non-league system, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy time. Players felt that none of their achievements had been recognised, and obviously, of course, all the clubs at the same time are spending lots and lots of money to achieve nothing
Yeah.
for games that meant nothing, which is hard to manage into spectator groups, and your fan base and belief in your management and players.
Despite the fact you got up through, I guess, what we'll call an unconventional promotion, I don't think anyone, as much as there are rivalries in football, I don't think anyone would have begrudged the club that promotion because of the consistency that you'd had in the sort of disjointed seasons that we had during COVID. I mean, it was certainly earned on the pitch.
You would hope so, that people recognise that certainly as far as Stockton Town's concerned, that they got there in the end, although it was unconventional, and hopefully our performances in the last 3 seasons would indicate that was the correct. We got there in the end, that the right teams were promoted. Hebben have done equally as well, and that the right people were there, I think.
Just looking at the Northern Premier League East, it's turning into a very interesting league over the last couple of years. Obviously, we have more and more North East clubs coming up. It feels as if it's becoming a bit more Northeast centric, and there's always this talk of the financial side, the travelling and such like. But you would hope that would only get easier as more Northern League clubs come up.
Yeah, without a doubt, we've noticed the difference in the 3 years we've been in there. That there's the travelling has been a little bit easier. In terms of there's more shorter trips, but some of the longer trips have actually got longer.
Yeah.
So this week we're off to Stockton Town. That's southwest Nottingham, I think. And we beat Grimsby Borough last week, and North Ferriby, which Grimsby Borough's close to 3 hours again.
Yeah.
So some of the longer trips seem to have got longer, and there's a few more shorter trips in there.
Yeah, you mentioned before the playoff disappointment that you've had 2 years in a row. I mean, again, though, we talk about coming back stronger, just as he did from the Grand Grading disappointment, just as he did from Wembley and that poor start in the Northern League Division 1. Again, the management team seem to have found solutions. They seem to have got stronger and bounced back from what was just a heartbreaking situation in the playoff final.
Yeah, and you see it in higher up the pyramid, don't you? That teams that lose playoff finals or playoffs can sometimes struggle a year after, But fortunately, we've managed to keep the momentum going on and off the pitch to support just the consistent growth, hopefully, of the club. And it's sometimes, it's very hard in non-league football, as you're probably aware, Mark, that you don't know who your opponents are going to be next year and what the budgets are going to be.
Yeah.
And you can get curveballs where clubs have been taken over, suddenly become with a different budget to manage that can suddenly knock the whole league off track. So for us to just keep that consistent on and off approach, on the pitch, off the pitch approach to building what we've got, our belief is that eventually we'll get to where our infrastructure can take us,
Obviously, we're getting to the business end of this season now. I think there's 12, 13 games left, although some clubs have got a lot more postponements going on. But you are in a good position. You're in a strong position, despite, obviously, last night's defeat at a very good Neaton Aycliffe side, by the way. If the club gets up, I mean, is there much to do in step 3? Do you think you'll have to make changes on and off the pitch?
Obviously, there's a few ground grading elements to the work that we have to do, but not a lot from the report that we've had. So we're quite confident that we can do that. Our off-field developments in the last couple of years with the new hospitality suite have made a big difference to our finances and how we can operate. So hopefully there's a big step forward already been taken there. And again, it comes down to the people of Stockton getting behind the club in terms of the spectators turning up, buying season tickets, and the business community getting behind the club with the profile it now gives the town also. So we think that a town the size of Stockton and all the infrastructure that we've got, that we are ready to make that step. And if we look around the Northern Premier League East, is there many teams way in advance of us ready to make that step? And we believe that we'd be up there in the top half dozen of teams, playing ability wise and facility wise, ready to make that step. So we're keen for it to happen and believe that we're in a good position to take it on.
You said there about the community of Stockton and the town of Stockton get behind the club. I mean, do you think in its current state, is that kind of that support will take you maybe further than you can if you've got good crowds, you are getting good crowds, but do you feel if the town really gets behind you, if the business community gets behind you, that's going to be essential if you go towards, say, step 2 and even further?
Absolutely. We need that engagement right across the wider community of what the football club brings, because our football club, as you'll be aware, Mark, isn't just about the first team that turns up on a Saturday and the 600 people. We've got 40 odd teams between boys, girls, but our community reach and the work we do in the community with our education program, with the Stockton Sixth Form College, our work in the universities, our outreach into the primary and secondary schools. We believe we punch well above our weight as a grassroots club in our community, and there's all manner of support that business community and that wider spectator base can help us with. But also it's important for the club to open everybody's eyes to what the benefits this football club brings to that community. With the boys, girls, there's something for whether you're 5-year-old or 85-year-old for you to get involved in at Stockton Town, and anywhere along that journey. So we've got to get that message out there better, that hopefully engages that wider community in the football club, and it's key to our future, really.
I think just to round up, just to look back over the last sort of, say, 13, 14, 15 years, is there one solitary moment that stands out for you as one that when, you leave your role at the club, whenever that may be in the future, that you look back on with the most pride?
That's quite a question, isn't it? I think, if you go, I always remember walking away from the Wearside League meeting at Step 7 when we got voted in to the Wearside League by our peers. That was a huge moment, and walked away from there with one of the other committee members, Gary Sudden, who's been here many years like me, and well, we did it, and that was an eye-opening moment. And then obviously I think eventually getting a position where we'd passed a ground grading that could get us out of the Wearside League and onto the wider ladder, should we say.
Yeah.
And then you can go on about our Wembley visit and the 2 semi-finals, defining moments. But to be fair to our football club, these defining moments keep coming along at the moment on a regular basis, both on and off the pitch. And I think that's the key to it. We've got to keep creating them defining moments on and off the pitch, and not let disappointments be our defining moment. So I think I said after Wembley, that the Wembley appearance and the Wembley defeat should never be our defining moment of our football club. It's got to be one of the steps along the way.
Yeah.
We've proved that so far, with what we've achieved in the last 6 years since then. And bearing in mind there's a couple of years of COVID taken out of there, that the progress has been remarkable. And we've just got to keep creating them defining moments on and off the pitch.
And maybe the biggest one is yet to come, hopefully. Would be nice to see. Martin Hillerby, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure to go through the remarkable rise of Stockton Town with you. Thanks for joining us on Inside North East Non-League Football. Best of luck for the rest of the season, and fingers crossed the Anchors can get over the line.
Yeah, thanks very much for the opportunity, and thanks for all your support of Stockton Town over the years. And yeah, let's hope this is our year. Cheers, Mark.